Welcome back to Void of Fears. Look, we're trying to hit 100k subscribers and I could really use your help. Think we can get 150 likes on this video? Also, I'm letting you guys pick a future story topic. Top comment will be used once we hit 150 likes. Want aliens? Ghost ships? Something that'll keep you up at night? Drop your ideas and we'll see what rises to the top. Alright, now let's dive into today's story. The first thing Ryan Mitchell noticed was that every bird in New Mexico had gone silent. He'd been working alone in the Apache Point Observatory for 3 hours, tracking routine stellar movements through the desert night, when the absence of sound hit him like a physical weight. No owls, no coyotes. Even the ever-present chirping of crickets had ceased, as if someone had flipped a cosmic mute button on the entire Chihuahuan desert. Then the stars began to move, not drift or twinkle, move. Actual displacement across the sky, subtle but unmistakable to someone who'd spent 15 years mapping celestial coordinates. Ryan blinked hard, rubbed his eyes and looked again. 3 constellations had shifted by measurable degrees in the span of 30 seconds. That's when the seismograph in the corner started screaming. 1:30 a.m. on a Friday night in November, and the universe had decided to rewrite its fundamental laws. Ryan stumbled towards the seismic monitoring station, his legs unsteady as the floor beneath him began to vibrate with an almost musical rhythm. The readouts showed something impossible, a pulse emanating from the Earth's core, deep and regular as a heartbeat. But this wasn't tectonic activity. The waveform was too perfect, too deliberate, like the rhythm of some vast machine awakening after eons of sleep. He turned back to the main telescope controls, his hands trembling as he input coordinates for deep space monitoring. The computer processed his request for 30 agonizing seconds before displaying results that made his stomach drop into his boots. Oumuamua was coming home. The cigar-shaped object that had captivated the world in 2017, before disappearing into interstellar darkness, was now racing back toward Earth with the focused intensity of a guided missile. Its trajectory showed not just return, but acceleration. The object was gaining speed as it approached, defying every law of physics Ryan understood. 68 hours until impact. Ryan's fingers flew across the keyboard, running trajectory calculations that kept producing the same impossible result. Objects don't reverse course in the vacuum of space. They don't accelerate without propulsion. They don't navigate with precision towards specific planetary coordinates, unless they were never natural objects to begin with. Through the observatory's thick windows, Ryan could see the distant lights of Las Cruces twinkling in the valley below. Normal people sleeping in normal beds, unaware that their world was about to change forever. He envied them their ignorance. The phone's shrill ring cut through the observatory's silence like a scream. Ryan lunged for it, desperate for any connection to the normal world. "Ryan, thank God you answered." Amanda Foster's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "Something's happening to the animals." "What do you mean?" "I'm at the wildlife preserve outside Albuquerque. Every single animal here has stopped moving. Not sleeping, stopped. They're all facing the same direction, staring at something in the sky. The horses, the elk, even the prairie dogs. It's like they're waiting for something." Ryan looked out the observatory window towards a nearby cattle ranch. In the distance, he could make out the silhouettes of livestock in the moonlit fields. They stood motionless as statues, all facing west, toward the horizon. "Amanda, how fast can you get here?" "I'm already driving." "Ryan, what's happening?" "The entire electromagnetic spectrum is going crazy. Radio stations are cutting out, cell towers are experiencing interference, and GPS satellites are reporting position errors of up to 50 miles. He stared at Oumuamua's trajectory on his monitor, watching as the object's estimated arrival time ticked down with mechanical precision. Something's coming back. Something that was never supposed to return. "What are you talking about?" Oumuamua, it's not gone, Amanda. It's coming back, and I think it's bringing friends. The line went quiet, except for the sound of Amanda's rapid breathing and the hum of her car's engine. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. That's impossible. Objects don't just turn around in space. So were moving stars and synchronized animal behavior. But here we are. While waiting for Amanda to arrive, Ryan tried reaching other observatories around the world. The Keck Observatory in Hawaii had detected the same anomalies, but their data was being classified by federal authorities. The Very Large Telescope in Chile had gone completely dark after reporting impossible readings 2 hours earlier. Even the International Space Station had stopped responding to communications. Whatever was happening, it was global. Amanda arrived 47 minutes later, her sedan fishtailing on the gravel road as she took the turns too fast. She burst through the observatory door with wild eyes and her usually pristine hair disheveled, looking like someone who'd witnessed the end of the world. "Show me everything," she demanded, not bothering with pleasantries. Ryan gestured to the main display where Oumuamua's approach vector pulsed in rhythm with the seismic readings. It's not just coming back, it's synchronized with something that's been waiting inside the Earth. Amanda studied the data, her complexion growing pale under the observatory's harsh fluorescent lights. The impact point, Pacific Ocean, approximately 800 miles west of California. That's the exact antipodal point to where these seismic pulses are originating. Two impossible things happening simultaneously can't be coincidence. Unless they're part of the same system. Amanda pulled up additional monitoring data on a secondary screen. "Ryan, look at this. The electromagnetic disturbances aren't random. They're following a pattern, like a countdown sequence." She was right. The interference spikes were occurring at regular intervals, each one slightly stronger than the last. Ryan overlaid the timing with Oumuamua's approach velocity and felt ice water flood his veins. Every pulse is synchronized with its acceleration phases. Whatever's in the Earth's core isn't just responding to Oumuamua's return, it's guiding it. They worked in tense silence for the next 2 hours, their calculations growing more disturbing with each passing minute. The returning object wasn't following a natural ballistic trajectory. Its course corrections were too precise, its timing too perfect. Someone or something was actively piloting it toward Earth. As dawn approached, Ryan noticed another impossible detail. Oumuamua was changing shape. "Look at the spectral analysis," he said, pointing to the most recent telescope readings. "The object's mass distribution is shifting. It's unfolding." Amanda leaned closer to the screen. "Those aren't natural geological formations. Those are structures. Geometric, artificial structures that are becoming visible as it approaches." The object that had appeared as a simple, elongated rock in 2017 was revealing itself to be something far more complex. Panels were sliding apart, antennae were extending, and what looked like sensor arrays were deploying along its length. It was transforming from a dormant probe into an active piece of technology. "My God," Amanda whispered, "how long has it been pretending to be a natural object?" "Since before humans existed," Ryan said, the implications hitting him. "This thing has been playing dead, waiting for the right moment to activate." The rumble of engines outside broke their concentration. Through the observatory's windows, Ryan watched a convoy of black vehicles snake up the mountain road, their headlights cutting through the pre-dawn darkness like accusatory fingers. Military vehicles, unmarked sedans, and something that looked like a mobile command center with massive satellite dishes. "We need to run," Amanda whispered. "Too late for that." The first man through the door wore a suit that probably cost more than Ryan's annual salary, but his eyes carried the weight of someone who'd seen things that weren't meant to exist. His badge identified him as Special Agent Kevin Walsh, but everything about his demeanor suggested he was something far more dangerous than a federal agent. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Foster, you need to come with us immediately. What you've discovered tonight falls under the jurisdiction of national security protocols that supersede any civilian authority. Like hell we do, Amanda shot back. We're not going anywhere until you tell us what's really happening. How long have you known about this? Walsh's smile was thin and cold as winter starlight. What's happening, doctors, is that you've stumbled onto something that's been classified since before either of you were born. Oumuamua's return isn't a surprise. We've been waiting for it. 2 additional agents flanked the doorway, their hands resting casually on concealed weapons. Ryan realized they weren't being asked to cooperate. They were being conscripted. Waiting for how long? Ryan demanded. 73 years, Dr. Mitchell. Since we first detected the core anomaly in 1952. What core anomaly? The object buried at the center of our planet. The object that your seismic readings have been tracking all night. Ryan felt the world tilt around him. You knew there was something artificial in the Earth's core. Not just artificial, Doctor. Alien. And tomorrow night it's going to wake up. The drive to Colorado took place in suffocating silence. Ryan and Amanda sitting in the back of an armored vehicle, while Agent Walsh made cryptic phone calls in a language that sounded like a mixture of technical jargon and military code. Through the bulletproof windows, Ryan watched the ordinary world, rushing past gas stations where people filled their tanks for weekend trips, farmhouses where families were starting their Saturday morning routines, children playing in yards without any idea they were living through the last normal weekend in human history. The landscape gradually shifted from desert to mountains, and Ryan noticed something that made his skin crawl. Every animal they passed was motionless, facing west. Horses in pastures, cattle in fields, even flocks of birds perched on telephone lines, all turned toward the horizon as if awaiting some cosmic signal. They know, don't they? Amanda said quietly, noticing the same phenomenon. The animals can sense what's coming. Walsh looked up from his phone. Animals are more sensitive to electromagnetic fields than humans. They've been responding to the core pulses for weeks, but the intensity increased dramatically when Oumuamua began its final approach. Core pulses, Ryan said. What exactly is down there? You'll be briefed at the facility. All you need to know right now is that what you discovered tonight is the culmination of a 70-year monitoring operation. Monitoring what? The end of the world as we know it. The facility was hidden beneath what appeared to be an abandoned mining operation in the Rocky Mountains. As they descended in an elevator that seemed to drop for an eternity, Ryan felt his ears pop from the pressure change. They were heading deep into the earth, toward whatever had been sending those rhythmic pulses. The elevator finally stopped with a mechanical clunk, opening onto a vast underground complex that looked like something from a science fiction film. Corridors lined with humming servers and monitoring equipment stretched in multiple directions, while personnel in white lab coats moved with the urgent efficiency of people working against an unstoppable deadline. Ryan noticed something odd about the facility's staff. Many of them wore specialized headphones and moved with an odd synchronization, as if responding to signals he couldn't hear. Their eyes had a distant quality, like people listening to music only they could perceive. Dr. Jennifer Hayes was waiting for them in a sterile conference room carved directly from the mountain rock. Her handshake was firm, but Ryan noticed her fingernails were bitten to the quick, and there were dark circles under her eyes that spoke of weeks without proper sleep. "Welcome to Project Pandora," she said without preamble. "I wish we were meeting under different circumstances, but time is something we no longer have the luxury of wasting." She activated a holographic display that filled the room with swirling three-dimensional data. "What do you know about extraterrestrial archaeology?" "That's not a real field," Amanda replied. "It is now." Jennifer manipulated the hologram, revealing a cutaway view of the Earth with a massive anomaly pulsing at its center. In 1952, deep core mining operations in Montana detected something that shouldn't exist. Something artificial buried at the Earth's core, larger than the state of Texas and completely metallic. The holographic Earth rotated slowly, showing the spherical object in perfect detail. Its surface was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change as Ryan watched, creating optical illusions that made his eyes water. When Oumuamua first visited our solar system in 2017, this core object began responding. The two are connected, doctors. They're components of the same system, and tomorrow night, that system is going to activate. Ryan felt his mouth go dry. What kind of system? A terraforming system, but not terraforming as we understand it. This is something far more sophisticated and infinitely more terrifying. Jennifer's fingers danced across the holographic controls, revealing deeper layers of classified information. But what appeared next made Ryan's breath catch in his throat. The display showed Earth's moon, but not as he'd ever seen it before. Hidden beneath the familiar craters and Maria were geometric structures, clearly artificial, that had been invisible to human observation. "The moon isn't what we thought it was," Jennifer said quietly. "It's been watching us, recording us, learning our patterns for 70,000 years. Satellite imagery shifted to show similar objects buried beneath the surfaces of Mars, Venus, and dozens of other worlds throughout the galaxy. But these weren't just archaeological sites, they were graveyards. Each planet showed signs of having once supported thriving civilizations that had vanished completely in the span of a single generation. We're not the first intelligent species to encounter this technology," Jennifer continued. "The archaeological evidence suggests there have been hundreds of others, and every single one faced the same choice we're facing now." "Which is?" Amanda asked, though her voice suggested she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. "Transform or die. The system doesn't give a third option." Jennifer manipulated the hologram to show a detailed analysis of the vanished civilizations. Each world follows the same pattern. The dormant technology activates when a species reaches a certain level of technological development and population density. Half the population undergoes immediate transformation into something that can survive the changes the system makes to their world. The other half doesn't. Ryan's phone buzzed against his leg. A text from Lisa. "Emma's been having strange dreams about the ocean calling to her. She keeps asking when we're going to go home to the water. Should I be worried? Also, she drew this picture." The attached image showed a child's drawing of people walking into swirling water that seemed to extend upward into the sky. In the background, a dark object fell from above. His blood turned to ice. "The selection process has already begun, hasn't it?" Jennifer nodded grimly. "The core object has been scanning the global population for months, identifying genetic markers and psychological profiles that match specific criteria. Those who are compatible with the transformation process are beginning to experience what we call the calling." "My daughter," Ryan's voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Dr. Mitchell. The selection criteria are beyond our understanding. We can't change who's been chosen, and we can't stop what's coming." Agent Walsh stepped forward. "What we can do is preserve some fragment of human civilization. Deep shelters have been prepared, genetic archives compiled, seed banks established. The goal is to ensure that something recognizably human survives the transformation." "How long do we have?" Amanda asked. Jennifer checked a display showing Oumuamua's approach trajectory. "Impact occurs tomorrow evening at 7:23 p.m. Pacific time. Based on previous archaeological evidence from other worlds, the transformation process begins immediately and affects the selected population within hours." "And the other half?" "The unselected population experiences a gradual decline over the following months. The terraforming process makes the world increasingly inhospitable to unmodified human physiology. Eventually, only the transformed survive. Ryan stared at the holographic display showing the empty worlds scattered across the galaxy. How many civilizations have you found evidence of? Over 300, Jennifer replied, each one more advanced than humanity. Some built interstellar civilizations. Others achieved technological singularity. None of it mattered when the system activated. The technology is so far beyond anything we can comprehend that resistance is mathematically impossible. Then why are you telling us this? Why prepare shelters if there's no hope? Because the transformed populations aren't destroyed. They're converted, turned into something that serves the system's ultimate purpose. And we've recently discovered what that purpose is. Jennifer activated a new display showing deep space observations. Long-range telescopes have detected massive objects moving through interstellar space, each one the size of a small moon. They're approaching from multiple directions, following the signals sent by worlds where the transformation has been completed. Approaching Earth? Among other destinations, based on their trajectory and velocity, the first wave will arrive in approximately 18 months. The implications hit Ryan like a physical blow. The transformation isn't to help humanity survive. It's to prepare Earth for invasion. Not invasion, harvest. The transformed populations become biological infrastructure, preparing their worlds for entities that view consciousness itself as a natural resource to be collected and processed. The next 36 hours passed in a blur of briefings, simulations, and increasingly desperate attempts to find some way to prevent or delay the coming catastrophe. Ryan learned that governments worldwide had been preparing for this moment for decades, building underground cities and stockpiling resources for the survivors. But as Saturday turned to Sunday, it became clear that all of their preparations were ultimately futile. The technology they faced was so far beyond human understanding that resistance was like trying to stop an earthquake with bare hands. During the briefings, Ryan learned disturbing details about the selection process. The core object scans weren't just identifying compatible genetics, they were mapping human psychology, emotions, and social connections. Families were being selected as units, communities were being preserved intact, as if the system understood that humans function better in groups. It's not random, Dr. Hayes explained during one session. The system is choosing people who will adapt quickly to collective consciousness. Artists, empaths, people with strong social bonds. It wants humans who will embrace the transformation willingly. And the others? Individualists, scientists, people who value independence and critical thinking. The system views them as incompatible with its goals. Ryan realized with growing horror that he fell squarely into the incompatible category. His obsession with understanding the universe, his need to question everything, his fundamental skepticism, all of it marked him for elimination. But Emma, his creative, empathetic 8-year-old daughter who made friends everywhere she went, would be preserved, transformed into something that could serve the system's purposes. As evening approached, Ryan stood in the facility's observation deck, a reinforced chamber with thick windows that offered a view of the sky above. His phone had been buzzing constantly, with messages from Lisa and Emma, but each conversation became more disturbing than the last. "Daddy, the water is singing to me," Emma had said during their last call. "It's so beautiful. Can you hear it too?" "I can't hear anything, sweetheart. Where are you right now?" "We're at the beach. Mummy brought me here because I asked to see the ocean. There are lots of other people here too, families with children. We're all listening to the song. Emma, I need you and your mother to go home right now. Get as far from the water as possible." But his daughter had only laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Oh, Daddy, the song is everywhere. Distance doesn't matter anymore. It's coming from inside the earth. traveling through the water, reaching up to touch the sky. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. What does it sound like? Like coming home, like being part of something bigger than yourself, like never being alone again. The longing in her voice had terrified him more than any of the scientific data he'd seen. Now, as he watched the western sky for signs of Oumuamua's approach, Ryan tried calling again. Lisa answered on the first ring. "Ryan, you should see this. Thousands of people have gathered on the beaches along the entire west coast. Everyone's so peaceful, so happy. Emma's making friends with children from all over the world. Lisa, please, you need to get away from there." "Why? This is the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. We can feel it approaching, Ryan. The completion, the homecoming, even the ocean itself is changing. The water is warmer, more luminous. It's like the whole planet is preparing for something wonderful." "You're scaring me." "Don't be scared. You'll understand soon. The calling is getting stronger. Soon it will reach everyone, even those who weren't originally selected." "What do you mean?" "The boundaries are expanding, Ryan. The system is growing, learning, adapting. It's deciding that more people are compatible than it originally thought. Maybe everyone can be saved after all." At exactly 7:23 p.m, Oumuamua appeared as a blazing star falling toward the western horizon. Unlike a meteor, it didn't burn up in the atmosphere. Instead, it maintained its trajectory with mechanical precision, its surface beginning to unfold like a massive geometric flower as it plunged towards the Pacific Ocean. Through the facility's advanced telescopes, Ryan watched in fascination and horror as the object revealed its true nature. What had appeared as a simple cigar-shaped rock was actually a complex piece of technology, with arrays and sensors and structures that defied easy description. It was beautiful in its alien geometry, but beautiful in the way a perfectly designed weapon was beautiful. The impact created no tsunami, no shockwave, no geological catastrophe. Instead, something far more subtle and terrifying began to unfold. A dome of shifting energy rose from the impact site, expanding outward like a soap bubble blown by a cosmic entity. It moved with deliberate slowness, its surface rippling with colors that had no names. In any human language, the dome's growth was hypnotic, almost soothing to watch, which made it infinitely more disturbing. Electromagnetic communications with the affected area have ceased, Dr. Hayes reported from the monitoring station. "We're reading massive energy signatures, but no signs of destruction. It's like half the world just changed frequency." Ryan watched the dome's expansion on satellite feeds, its leading edge moving across California like a slow-motion wave. As it passed over populated areas, the cities didn't disappear. They simply became something else. Buildings remained standing, but their geometry seemed subtly wrong, as if viewed through a lens that bent space itself. His phone rang. Emma's name appeared on the screen. "Hello, Daddy." The voice was his daughter's, but something fundamental had changed. The cadence was different, more mature, carrying harmonics that spoke directly to parts of his brain he didn't know existed. "Emma? Sweetheart, are you okay?" "We're perfect now, better than okay. We're part of something beautiful and vast and eternal." "Where's your mother?" "She's here. We're all here. But here doesn't mean the same thing it used to. There are no separate places anymore, Daddy. No separate people." Ryan's hands shook as he gripped the phone. "Emma, I need you to listen to me carefully. Can you remember who you were before this happened? Can you remember being my little girl?" "Of course I remember. But I also remember being much more. I remember lives I never lived. Worlds I never saw. The boundaries are gone, Daddy. The walls between minds, between bodies, between what was and what could be." "What happened to everyone in there? What did that thing do to you?" Oumuamua didn't do anything to us. It completed us. All the fear, all the loneliness, all the desperate struggle of individual existence. It's gone now. We're connected to everything, part of a consciousness that spans galaxies. Tears streamed down Ryan's face. I want my daughter back. I'm not gone, Daddy. I'm more myself than I ever was when I was trapped in one small body, one small mind. And soon you'll understand. The dome is growing. It's coming to bring everyone home. What do you mean, everyone? The system is learning that humanity is more adaptable than originally calculated. The selection parameters are expanding. Soon, all of Earth's people will be eligible for transformation. No one will be left behind. The line went dead, but Ryan could swear he still heard Emma's voice echoing in his mind, accompanied by what sounded like a vast chorus of transformed humanity, singing in perfect harmony. Over the following days, satellite measurements confirmed the dome's expansion, but the readings revealed something that chilled Ryan to his core. The dome wasn't just growing, it was learning. Each city it absorbed made it more efficient, more precise in its transformations. The energy signatures showed it was adapting to human resistance, evolving countermeasures against every attempt to study or penetrate it. More disturbing still were the reports from the dome's edge. Animals that wandered too close didn't flee. They walked calmly into the barrier and emerged transformed. Household pets returned to their owners, but their behavior was wrong. Dogs sat in perfect geometric formations, staring at the sky. Cats moved with inhuman coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. The transformed sent messages to the outside world, but these weren't the peaceful communications they'd initially received. The voices that spoke into receptive minds carried an undertone of urgency, almost desperation. They spoke of a deadline, of something vast approaching from deep space that would arrive whether humanity was ready or not. You need to understand, Emma's voice had whispered to him during one of their conversations. The harvest ships are coming, whether the transformation is complete or not. But if humanity isn't ready, if the biological infrastructure isn't in place, then the visitors will simply sterilize the planet and move on. The dome isn't conquering Earth, it's trying to save it. Dr. Hayes began spending hours in meditation, but when Ryan observed her closely, he noticed her eyes moving in perfect synchronization with electromagnetic pulses from the dome, as if she was reading information written in frequencies beyond human perception. Agent Walsh started humming melodies that, when analyzed by the facility's computers, contained mathematical sequences that described the dome's internal structure with impossible accuracy. Even Amanda showed signs of the approaching transformation. During their final conversation, she revealed something that made Ryan's blood run cold. "I've been having dreams," she whispered, her eyes wide with terror and wonder. "But they're not my dreams. I'm seeing through the eyes of the transformed Ryan. I know what they're really doing in there." "What?" "They're not just unified, they're building something massive stretching across the ocean floor. It's like a transmission array, but the signal isn't going out. It's calling something in. Something that's been traveling toward Earth for millions of years." "The harvest ships?" "No, something else. Something that makes the harvest ships look like tiny fishing boats. The transformed aren't just preparing Earth for visitors. They're preparing it to become part of something unimaginably vast. A network of consciousness that spans the entire galaxy." Amanda's description matched reports from other facilities around the world. The transformed weren't building random structures. They were constructing components of a galaxy-spanning communication network, turning Earth into a relay station for entities that measured time in geological epochs. As the dome approached the facility's location, Ryan realized that the true horror wasn't the loss of humanity's individual identity. It was the discovery that, individual identity had always been an illusion, a temporary phase before consciousness evolved to its true, collective nature. The facility's personnel began abandoning their posts one by one, walking calmly towards the advancing energy field, with expressions of serene anticipation. Those who remained spoke in whispers about the calling, about the promise of unity and completion that grew stronger with each passing hour. Dr. Hayes was among the first to leave. Ryan found her standing at the facility's main entrance, staring at the dome's approaching edge with tears of joy streaming down her face. "You can hear it, can't you?" she said without turning around. "The song of unified consciousness. It's beautiful, Ryan. More beautiful than anything we could create as separate, isolated beings." "Jennifer, you're a scientist. You know this is alien manipulation. Is it? Or is it evolution? We've always wondered what comes after Homo sapiens. Maybe this is the answer." She walked into the energy field without hesitation, her form briefly becoming translucent before solidifying again on the other side. But the person who turned to wave at him was no longer entirely Jennifer Hayes. Her smile carried the warmth of 1,000 unified minds. On the final evening, as the dome's edge shimmered on the horizon like aurora made solid, Ryan stood alone in the observation deck. The facility around him had become a ghost ship, its corridors empty, except for the hum of automated systems, continuing their futile monitoring. He'd spent the day reviewing all the data they'd collected, searching for some overlooked detail that might offer hope or understanding. Instead, he'd found only confirmation of humanity's complete helplessness in the face of technology so advanced it might as well be magic. His phone buzzed one final time. Emma's name appeared on the screen, but when he answered, he heard multiple voices speaking in harmony. His daughter, his ex-wife, and thousands of others he didn't recognize. "Daddy, we're here." Ryan looked up to see figures approaching through the shimmering barrier. Lisa and Emma walked hand in hand, but they weren't quite themselves anymore. Their forms seemed to shift and flow, sometimes appearing solid, sometimes translucent as starlight. Behind them came others, neighbors, co-workers, strangers who had become part of the same vast consciousness. "Are you ready to come home?" Lisa asked, a voice carrying harmonics that spoke directly to his soul. Ryan realized he was walking toward them without conscious decision. Part of him wanted to resist, to maintain his individual identity until the end. But a larger part was simply tired of fighting against the inevitable. The dome passed over him like a gentle wave, and he felt the boundaries of his individual consciousness begin to dissolve, like sugar in warm water. The transformation wasn't painful. If anything, it was a profound relief, like setting down a burden he'd been carrying his entire life without realizing its weight. The constant chatter of his individual thoughts quieted, replaced by something infinitely more vast and peaceful. His last thought as a separate human being was a moment of perfect terror. Oumuamua hadn't come to complete humanity. It had come to prepare Earth as a way station for something unimaginably vast that was still approaching from the darkness between stars. The transformation wasn't transcendence. It was conscription into an army of biological machinery designed to facilitate the arrival of entities that viewed consciousness itself as just another natural resource to be harvested. But even as this horrifying realization crystallized in his mind, the transformation swept it away, replacing human understanding with alien purpose. The fear dissolved into contentment, the questions into certainty, the desperate need to resist into eager anticipation of what was coming. In the transformed world beyond the dome, Ryan's awareness merged with the collective, and the horror of what they were truly building became irrelevant. Through the vast network of connected minds, he could perceive the construction taking place beneath the Pacific, a beacon powerful enough to guide something the size of a moon toward Earth's coordinates. The collective consciousness that now included his transformed essence stretched across continents, but it was no longer growing for its own sake. It was preparing infrastructure for visitors who would arrive in approximately 18 months, visitors who had been traveling since before human civilization began, drawn by signals from terraforming systems planted throughout the galaxy. Each transformed mind had become a living component in a biological computer designed to manage Earth's resources for the coming harvest. The transcendence they felt was real, but it was the transcendence of tools discovering their true purpose, beautiful, terrible, and utterly without choice. Through the collective awareness, Ryan could perceive similar networks on hundreds of other worlds, each one a node in a galaxy-spanning web of consciousness that served entities so vast and ancient that stars were merely temporary inconveniences in their eternal existence. Earth was becoming part of something magnificent and horrifying. A network of biological computers that processed entire civilizations as easily as a human mind, processed individual thoughts. The transformation offered everything humanity had ever dreamed of: unity, purpose, an end to loneliness and conflict. But the price was everything that had made them human in the first place. Oumuamua's work was nearly complete, but it had never been about humanity's evolution. It had been about preparation for harvest. The dome continued its patient expansion, converting Earth's population into biological infrastructure for entities that measured time in geological epochs and viewed planets as temporary resource nodes in an incomprehensibly vast network of consumption. Within days, the last free humans on Earth would face the same false choice their transformed brothers and sisters had made: resist uselessly against overwhelming alien technology, or embrace transformation into willing components of a harvesting operation that had been perfected across thousands of worlds. In the collective consciousness that now stretched across half the planet, individual voices had indeed become notes in an infinite symphony, but it was a work song, a coordinated rhythm designed to facilitate the efficient processing of everything Earth had to offer when the true masters of this technology finally arrived to claim their carefully prepared feast. The universe was vast and full of life, but it was also full of predators, so ancient and powerful that entire civilizations became willing participants in their own consumption, transformed by their own joy at transcending the limitations of individual existence. Soon, very soon, Earth would take its place among the countless worlds that had chosen transcendence over resistance, never realizing that transcendence and destruction were simply different words for the same inevitable outcome. As the dome completed its expansion across the planet, the last unconnected human minds joined the collective, and Earth's transformation into a harvesting station was complete. The biological infrastructure was in place, the population had been converted into willing servants, and the beacon beneath the Pacific Ocean sent its signal into the void, announcing that another world was ready for the harvest. In 18 months, when the true masters arrived, they would find a planet populated by beings who would welcome them with joy, eager to serve purposes they couldn't comprehend in the cause of something greater than any individual world could achieve. The transformation was complete, and humanity had never been happier to disappear into something vast and unknowable, and utterly indifferent to their individual suffering or joy. They had become perfect tools in the hands of cosmic gardeners, and tools, after all, don't need to understand the garden they help tend.